Hey everyone, this video is called Sequencing Rotations, and it directly follows from the previous work we've done with sequencing. Remember, sequencing is simply hooking two or more transformations together in one problem. So as you can see with this one, I did a little work ahead of time here. This is the first exercise, and I've got the triangle here. I've labeled some points, so if you want to label those on your note packet the same way. And I also have the coordinates of the points listed right here where they're going to start. Now, one other thing I did is I listed the rotation rules that we've developed before for rotations, and I'm going to use those in order to do these two rotations here. Okay, so let's jump right in. And first we're going to do a rotation of 90 degrees. And remember, rotation of 90 means we're going to be going counterclockwise. I've also labeled the quadrants here. And this is quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if I rotate this 90 degrees, anything in quadrant 1 is going to end up in quadrant 2. Alright, so I know I'm going to end up over here somewhere, and if I just simply go by my rules, if I know my rules, then this is really easy to do. Alright, I don't even have to turn my paper or anything. I can simply go by the rules and do it mathematically. Alright, so rule number one here, this first one, is for 90 degrees, and whatever x and y I start with, my rule says, well, just switch them around and negate whatever y is, just negate it or take the opposite of that. Alright, so that's easy enough. I'm going to start with 4 comma 3. Well, that turns the 3 and the 4 around to the other place here, to the x and y, switch it around, and negates that 3. So it turns it into negative 3 comma 4. Alright, b prime, same thing. Take the 6 and 7 and turn them around, and that turns it into negative 7 comma 6. And c prime, same thing. Take the 3 and the 8, turn them around. It's going to be negative 3 comma 8. So there are my image points, right? That's the image of the original triangle, and I'm just going to take a second and graph them, and you can do the same. This is going to be a prime, and negative 7 comma 6 is right here. As soon as I count 6 up the coordinate axes here, alright, that's going to be b prime, and negative 3 comma 8 is right here. That's going to be that's c prime. Let's take that out of there. Almost put an a. Alright, let's put that one back in here, and that's c prime. Okay, and then I'm just going to take a minute and connect them with a straight line, somewhat straight. Okay, and there's my image. There's my triangle. Now, one thing you notice about rotations is that it changes the orientation of the object. You can see this triangle is kind of pointing upwards originally, but then the image is pointing to the left, if you imagine pointing being through point B. Alright? Okay, so easy enough. But since we're doing a sequence, we're going to then rotate it 180 degrees. Alright? Now, what should happen if we rotate 180 degrees, we should move from quadrant 2. If I imagine taking this coordinate axis and rotating it upside down, anything in quadrant 2 should rotate 90, and 90 is 180 should end up down in quadrant 4. Alright, so let me switch over to green, and I'm going to put these right underneath here. I'm going to just put rotation of 180, and remember, I'm starting with the image that I just made, so I'm starting with these blue coordinates, and I'm going to come up with a double prime, b double prime, and c double prime. That's how I'm going to label them. Alright, so if I start at negative 3 comma 4, well, my rule down here says, well, leave the x's and y's the same order, but take the negation of each one, or take the opposite of each one. So like in A prime, it's starting to be negative, well, that turns it to be positive. And 4 is starting to be positive, well, that turns it to be negative. So that's going to be the point for A double prime. Okay, point B prime is going to do a similar thing. It's going to turn the 7 positive and turn the 6 negative. Alright, and C double prime is going to turn into 3 comma negative 8. Alright, and let me quickly graph those over here. Over 3 down 4 is right here. That is A double prime. Okay, over 7 and down 6, it's going to be 2 more there. There we go. That's point B double prime. Okay, and C double prime, sorry, is going to be over 3 down 8, which is going to be right there. And again, I'm going to connect those with hopefully a straight line. You don't know how hard it is to do that on this thing. Alright, let's take that one out of there. Let's make that one a little better. Okay. Alright, that's a little better. Okay, so there's my result after doing the sequence of these 2 rotations. Alright, here's exercise 2. Now this one is very similar to exercise 1, but a little different. Notice we're sequencing 2 rotations again, but we're going to do a rotation of negative 180 and then negative 180 again. Now, if you really understand what's going on, you'll kind of get the idea before we finish the problem of what should happen. But let's go ahead and do it anyways. Alright, I've already put the coordinates down. I've already labeled them, just like I did before. And I'm going to do a negative 180 degree rotation. If you remember when we did rotations before, we said that when you do a rotation 180, it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. The rule is going to be the same. That's why I only have 3 of them listed here. Okay, so let's use this rule, and let me switch over. I'm going to do this in blue since I put the original ones in red here. This is going to be A prime, and I'm going to do it a little quicker this time because we just did this in the previous example here. So negative 180, it's going to follow this rule. The x, y are going to stay the same, and it's going to turn each one opposite. So this is going to turn into 9 negative 4, and B prime is going to turn into 7 comma negative 8, and C prime is going to turn into, what is it going to be, positive 5 negative 4. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and graph these. And okay, so as you can see, I've graphed the points. I didn't think you had to watch me do that again since we've been doing it many times. So now I need to do the second rotation of negative 180, and I'm going to switch over to green for that one. And you're going to see something funny happen if you haven't figured it out already here. 180 and 180 is 360, and that's a complete circle. So it's like you're starting here, taking your paper and turning it 360 degrees. Well, look what's going to happen. A double prime is going to come out to be, let's see if I follow my rule, comes out to be negative 5 comma 4, because again I work off of this A prime and I negate each one. So well, it looks like we got to the same point we did when we started. Alright, and if you do each one of these, you'll see that it's going to happen on each one, and it kind of alluded to it already. That makes sense because we've basically rotated this object now negative 180 and negative 180. We've gone a negative 360 degrees, which is a complete turnaround. So I'm going to go ahead and graph these, and watch, I don't even have to change because these are right on top of the original ones we started with. So B is also B prime, double prime, sorry. C is also C double prime, and A is also A double prime. So kind of a neat little problem, and just to show you that when you do this, if you do 180 twice, you really end up in the same place. Alright, well here is exercise 3, and as you can see, I've graphed the points and labeled them and put their coordinates right here. So here's the sequence we're going to do now. We're going to do a rotation of negative 90, and then we're going to do a rotation of negative 180. So we're looking at this one and that one. Alright, so let's go ahead and do the first one here. Hopefully by now you're getting the hang of this. And we've got a rotation of negative 90, which, going by my rule, says switch the x and y around, but make sure you negate the x. Alright, so a prime is going to be negative 4, comma 5. You notice that I didn't change the negative 4, I just changed where it was, but I negated the negative 5 to give me a positive 5. Okay? Part B, or I shouldn't say part B, I should say point B, becomes negative 8, and it negates the 5 again, so it gives me a positive 5. Okay, and C prime is going to go to negative 8, comma, and it's going to be a positive 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph those. Negative 4, comma 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I do want to mention, notice we're doing a rotation of negative 90, which means we're going clockwise 90 degrees. Here's my quadrants, right? And if I go clockwise 90, I should end up in quadrant 2, because I'm starting in quadrant 3, and that looks like it's going to happen, so we're doing a good thing. Alright, negative 8, comma 5 is right here. So this one is A prime, and this one is B prime. And let's see, C prime is at negative 8, comma 1. So that is right there. Okay, so I'm going to connect to those, and it looks like my triangle looks something like that. Okay, which again would just be a rotation of negative 90. Alrighty, and I'm going to jump over to green and now do my next rotation, which is negative 180. Now, thinking ahead, I know I'm starting in quadrant 2. Hopefully you can see now a rotation of 180 is going to go 2 quadrants clockwise, so I should end up in quadrant 4 down here. If I don't, then I did something wrong. Alright, so I'm going to take each point, and this is going to be double primes on each of these. So what do I do according to my rule? I do not switch the x's and y's, but I negate them. Alright, so I'm starting with this blue A prime up here, and that's going to turn into 4, comma, negative 5. I took the negation of each one. And the B prime will become 8, comma, negative 5. Alright? And C double prime becomes positive 8, comma, negative 1. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and graph those. Let's see, 4, comma, negative 5 is right here. Okay, that is a double prime. And let's see, 8, comma, 5, negative 5, sorry, 8, comma, negative 5 is going to be right here. That is B double prime. And C double prime is at 8, comma, negative 1. That is right there. Okay? So, there is my image. So here's my original in black. Here is my first image in blue. And then here is my second image in green. And there you have it. So if you know the rotation rules that I have in the green box, it's really pretty easy to do. Okay, so thanks for watching, and we'll catch you tomorrow.